All right, kicking off another brand new hour of the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to have you here live from Studio G and fighting for you from the Fox Floor Freedom every single day. Warning, this show can create all sorts of remarkable feelings of patriotism and wanting to be part of it, right? Yeah, that's exactly right. So we'll get to all of it. Three big things to start this hour. Number one, who will be the next mayor of New York City, a former governor or a sworn communist? Well, the Democratic primary held yesterday in New York City voted for the communist. Yeah, great. Number two, 128 Democrats joined Republicans in blocking the latest idiotic effort to impeach President Trump, proving that those on the left, at least some of them, can learn from ongoing mistakes. And number three, President Trump dropping another bomb, not a bunker buster, but a verbal one. You might have heard it to start the day yesterday, but here it is again.
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel was committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Do you understand that part? Yeah, that right there is a man who was very angry, probably working on zero sleep to achieve peace between two countries who've hated each other since the beginning of time. That peace in the Middle East holding on by a thread today after Iran and Israel both violated the ceasefire originally that President Trump announced a couple of days ago has him very mad. Mad as I've ever seen him. F-bombing on live TV. Yeah, he was not impressed with either side of this ongoing war that may now be finally cooling off. On Air Force One, he told reporters that the ceasefire was still very much in effect, but we'll have to wait and see how each day plays out, and more importantly, if it holds. But I want to make a point, based on this exchange and others. There's an anti-war faction of MAGA that wonders if President Trump has been hoodwinked, or worse, controlled by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. I would make the argument that Trump's condemnation of Israel's actions, at the very least, definitely undermines any argument that Trump puts Israel's interests ahead of ours, or that he got taken. Here's some analysis from my friend Steve Bannon on this exchange. Listen.
I've never seen the president that mad. I've never seen that mad to drop an F-bomb like that. I've never seen the way he's addressing Netanyahu. He's furious because he's put it all on the line. He had to work with Qatar. This was to save Israel. Netanyahu jeopardized Israel and the people of Israel. They're the ones taking the big incomings tomorrow. Persia's 100 million people. It's 3 times the size of Texas. They can take a lot of beating. Israel's tiny. It's a strip of land on the sea and 9 million people. They're taking, and the dome ain't working. I mean, they're running out of ammo. I'm not saying it's not working. They just got too many ballistic missiles coming at them. President Trump did that for him and his government, and now they're trying to get in every lick they can possibly get. And Trump's not going to have it. He doesn't play that way. He says, his big thing is no games.
Yeah, no games. I think there are a lot of question marks when it comes to Israel's motives and interests or whatever. I think it's all worthy of discussion. Bannon's raised plenty of questions himself. And look, nobody can see around a political corner better than Steve Bannon. Just check his long track record. He has a Hall of Fame batting average when it comes to such things, which means we have to discuss this. In fact, I'll play you this little montage I made of just a couple of the instances where Netanyahu has been claiming that Iran was only months or a short distance away from having a nuclear weapon starting back in the 1990s. Listen.
I believe that only the United States can lead this vital international effort to stop the nuclearization of terrorist states. But the deadline for attaining this goal is getting extremely close. By next spring, at most, by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks, before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb. The foremost sponsor of global terrorism could be weeks away from having enough enriched uranium for an entire arsenal of nuclear weapons.
All right, so you got 1996, you got 2015, and I could go on. And my take on this? Netanyahu is fighting for his country like any good leader does. I don't hold that against him. What else would you expect? Of course, Netanyahu wants the U.S. to help him neutralize the sponsors of terrorism, and why shouldn't he? He didn't have the means to do it himself, not with standard munitions, not like what we have. But let's not act like neutralizing Iran's nuclear capabilities is only for the benefit of Israel. The great thing about this country is you're entitled to your own opinion. I'm entitled to disagree if I'd like. And there's a lot of that going around today, and I think it's a healthy series of conversations to have. But I do want to remind everyone that by hitting Iran, we hit Hezbollah, we hit Hamas, we hit the Houthis. These are good things. We hit other terrorist organizations that are all funded by the Islamic regime in Tehran, and they don't require the life of a single American or any years-long operation or boots on the ground. Here's the thing. U.S. policy has been the same for decades. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. This country has been chanting death to America my entire life and has sponsored terrorism for those purposes longer than that. The problem is that other U.S. presidents have tried to use bribery and appeasement and everything else with these people. It doesn't work with a terrorist regime. Obama, you may recall, sent these guys pallets of cash, $1.7 billion. Trump sent Operation Midnight Hammer. I don't think I have to tell you which one was more effective. The Iranian National, this one, says diplomacy doesn't work with Iran, and here's why. Listen.
President, but I just want to say, as an Iranian on this panel, there is no diplomacy with the IRGC. They use negotiation and diplomacy as a delay tactic to do whatever the heck they want in secret. So when I hear diplomacy with Iran, I just feel like that's a joke.
So you think ultimately we have to have regime change?
I think that there's no other choice with this regime. Like the rabbi said, this is theological for them. This is getting to heaven. This is not, they're not playing with the same core values that Americans have.
All right.
They have the opposite core value. We value peace and life. They value jihad and martyrdom. We don't think alike.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sheila.
And don't forget, she's right, we don't think alike. And don't forget, this is the same country, Iran, that on multiple occasions has plotted to assassinate President Donald Trump. These people are not our friends. Not in government, anyhow. And keeping them in check serves our interest, not just Israel's. President Trump's playing cleanup, and quite a mess it is. It's what I'm doing here as well today. Don't forget, I'm looking for 25 new followers on X and Facebook. I want you to be part of the movement. Join the movement. Follow us on social media. We're live on YouTube as well, and Rumble, and we're everywhere. And Real America's Voice TV. Don't forget that part. All right, I'll be right back. Yeah, like I said, Donald Trump, the president, cleaning up a mess he didn't make. Decades of weak leadership made this mess, and he's doing it as efficiently as possible. He doesn't want chaos. He wants order. Listen.
Do you want to see regime change in Iran?
No. If there was, there was. But no, I don't want it. I'd like to see everything calm down as quickly as possible. Regime change takes chaos. And ideally, we don't want to see so much chaos. So we'll see how it does. You know, the Iranians are very good traders, very good business people, and they got a lot of oil. They should be fine. They should be able to rebuild and do a good job. They're never going to have nuclear, but other than that, they should do a great job.
Yeah. Trump not interested in making a bigger mess. He's taking steps every step of the way to make things better, more peaceful. Even when it comes to the economic angle, Trump's working to keep oil prices down, for example, always. He threatened in May to bar any country buying Iranian oil from doing business with the United States, but now that a ceasefire is in the works, Trump posted this to social media, to Truth. China can now purchase oil from Iran. Hopefully, they'll be purchasing plenty from the U.S. also. It was my great honor to make this happen. And now oil prices are down more than 10% after the Panicans freaked and prophesized that oil prices would skyrocket and hit $100 a barrel after the strikes on Iran's nuclear sites. None of that happened. Another concern has been what kind of outbreak of violence could we see here on U.S. soil thanks to Joe Biden's illegal alien gotaways? Well, that is certainly still a concern. Here's Tom Homan with more.
And for 4 years, I said my biggest concern is the open border causes the biggest national security vulnerability this country has ever seen. You know, every day, the average under Biden administration, every single day, the average was 1,800 gotaways, known gotaways. People we had on video, drone traffic, sensor traffic. These are people we knew came to the United States, entered illegally. We don't know who they are, where they came from, why they're here. But they got away, and we know that number, 1,800 average every day. So every day I was complaining about that mess we had to clean up if we got back in power. And I tell you, ever since the election in November when President Trump won, I worked with a lot of people who's back with the administration now. We started the plans. How are we going to fix this? First, we got to plug the hole, secure the border. We had the most secure border in the history of the nation today because of President Trump. So we plugged the hole. Now we got to bail out the water, and that's what we started planning in November. We knew we had a big job to do, and we're working it.
Yeah. And they have worked on it day and night. And just since Sunday, 11 Iranian nationals have been arrested by ICE that we know of, maybe more, but at least 11 since Sunday. These are men with connections to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, to Hezbollah, men with previous criminal convictions, some of whom were on the known or suspected terrorist watch list. And yet, Joe Biden and his administration let them in. This administration is not messing around. And Trump's taking it all in stride. The House has blocked an impeachment attempt made against him. In fact, 128 Democrats said, look, guys, this is stupid. 128 Democrats joining their Republican counterparts against all of this nonsense. But Trump didn't even break a sweat, posting to Truth Social, go ahead, try impeaching me again. Make my day. The gloves are coming off. He doesn't mince words. And he's not fazed by the pearl clutchers or the impeachment goons. He's just here to get the job done, and he's not going to let America get suckered into being the only one responsible for world peace. Right now, he's at NATO. We're going to have some comments from that. He's going to hold the globalist feet to the fire. Here's the U.S. ambassador to NATO. Listen.
Tomorrow, we expect that all 32 NATO allies will agree to a new path, and that path, that commitment, is going to be 5% of their GDP on defense. And, you know, it is historic. It is probably one of the biggest foreign policy wins of this administration, of any administration. And then we're going to spend the time building out the capacity and the capabilities of the United States and especially our allies here in Europe so that they can take over the traditional defense of the European continent and allow the United States to address the challenges that we face globally from our adversaries. But at the same time, you know, our allies want to be part of this alliance with the United States. Yeah. And we at the same time need to address all of our security challenges. And so that's why we're looking for this commitment. That's why our allies are going to deliver this commitment, because it's not just about what the United States want. Ultimately, it's what they need as well. It's what their not only economies, but their societies demand. They want security, and they have to step up. For too long, Europe has been taking advantage of the American taxpayer to provide their traditional security.
Europe has been taking advantage of the United States for far too long, but I want you to hear a complete change in tone. Mark Rutte, he's the guy in charge of NATO. He's the former prime minister of the Netherlands. He said something pretty remarkable to President Trump just a short while ago. Listen to this.
Steve, I lied. I don't have it.
No. All right, well, we don't have that sound. President Trump took a bullet, by the way, in order to lead this country. I trust him to continue putting our interests first. We've gotten to this point because of people like J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth fought in forever wars that extended beyond our resources, and they said, no, we're not doing that anymore. That's why they joined the Trump administration. I trust this administration. I trust President Trump. We need to let this play out before we jump on the bandwagon of conclusions that turn out to be wrong. But I'm hopeful and trusting that President Trump's actions can lead to real peace, at least potentially. Are you frustrated by gridlock in Washington, wondering why Congress just can't seem to get anything done? Now there's a way to understand how we got here and so much more. I tell you this every day, but not a lot of you have done it, and I don't know why. Hillsdale College has free online courses. I mean, these are great. Look how well they're shot. Look how well they're done. Anybody that's seeing the video right now. Incredibly well put together. The Story of America is the latest. Here's Congress and how it worked and why it doesn't. There are more than 40 free courses at gruberforhillsdale.com. And each course is several chapters, which means several episodes. It's like going to a much cooler Netflix, a much smarter Netflix that teaches you about America. Ivy and I love this stuff. If you want to binge watch, you want to just take a moment and learn something cool about the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev, and how we stood up to the Soviet Union in the Cold War, or how we went to the moon, or how we made America great, it's gruberforhillsdale.com. gruberforhillsdale.com. We'll be right back.